It all began with a powerful and inspiring dream that he held ever since he was a little boy. His childhood fascination with fantasy architecture drove him to spend countless hours sketching, determined to one day build and live in his own creation. As an adult, he finally stood proudly before his completed masterpiece, believing he had at last achieved his lifelong goal. But this was all an illusion. A system message flashed, confirming he had just logged into a virtual world, his grand building being nothing more than the entry point. Now, instead of reigning in a castle, he finds himself starting from scratch. With a new companion and basic tools, his true adventure of building a life from the ground up has just begun. The story begins with a moment of shocking passion, as a young man throws himself into a deep bow, shouting a heartfelt marriage proposal to the person before him. In a much quieter moment, this same man is seen with a relaxed smile, pulling up his crafting menu, ready to get back to his work while a companion watches him fondly. It is then revealed that the dramatic proposal is not a one-time event. His companion explains with exasperated affection that this scene has become a daily routine for them. This all unfolds in Yum Sekai, a legendary VR MMO known for both its challenging combat and its unparalleled creative freedom, which attracts builders from around the world. He is one of those builders, a dedicated crafter who poured his free time into the game to fulfill a childhood dream of building a castle, which now stands as a popular landmark for other players. In his real life, the protagonist sees himself as a corporate slave. He reflects on how, despite his initial annoyance at all the couples in his castle, he has grown used to it and now feels great satisfaction from being able to craft things that make other people happy. This sense of accomplishment is shared by his family. In a heartfelt moment, his brother tells him to be happy, expressing immense pride in his achievements and hoping he finds a wonderful partner of his own. Back in the game, he notices a new mail notification in his inbox. He casually wonders if it's another wedding announcement from players who met because of his popular architectural creations. Upon checking, however, he sees the message is from the game's admin. To his surprise, the title reads, "Guide to Special World," something unexpected and far from a typical player message. The guide is accompanied by a personal note that deeply touches him. It's a message of gratitude, stating, "Thanks to your wonderful architecture, many people have learned about love. Thank you for bringing people together." After being called the Cupid of love, the protagonist takes a moment to process the compliment. At first, he smiles smugly, but soon he recognizes the genuine appreciation in being acknowledged for bringing people together, which leaves him thoughtful. He then reads the rest of the message from the game administrator. As a token of gratitude, he will be taken to a special world. His builder's mind immediately starts working, wondering if it might be some sort of server dedicated just to him. A confirmation screen appears, asking if he agrees to have part of his data transferred to this new world. For him, the decision is simple. If he can keep creating and building, there's nothing to worry about. He accepts the invitation. As he is transported, surrounded by a flash of light and data, he has a vision of the goddess of love. In a moment of selflessness, his thoughts turn to her, and he wishes that she, too, may find happiness. His journey ends as he materializes alone in a serene and unfamiliar forest. In front of him, a single tree leaf glows brightly, marking the quiet beginning of his new and mysterious adventure in this special world. Regaining consciousness in the new world, the protagonist's first thought is confusion. Before he can even check his status, he is ambushed by a stranger who aggressively orders him not to move. The scene pulls back to reveal a menacing group of bandits. Their leader, a sinister-looking man, commands the occupants of a nearby carriage to abandon their vehicle and goods. From the safety of the trees, the protagonist observes the full situation. He notes the bandits' disturbingly realistic appearance, wondering if this is part of an update, since such NPCs shouldn't exist in the game he knows. His eyes land on an injured but defiant young woman. In a tense moment, his gaze meets the determined eyes of the young woman. A silent understanding passes between them, and he feels a surge of resolve, clenching his fist, now personally invested in her safety. Realizing this must be the start of a quest, he quickly analyzes the odds. He resolves to become a decoy, concluding that to save them, he must draw the attention of the vast majority of the bandits himself. Putting his plan into action, the protagonist leaps from his hiding spot, shouting to draw the bandits' attention. They're caught off guard, their leader instantly assuming that reinforcements have arrived. The surprise quickly turns into fury. The bandit leader roars at his men to kill everyone. Faced with this raw killing intent, the protagonist has a split second of doubt, wondering if he has made a fatal error in judgment. But just as the bandits advance, help arrives from the person he was trying to save. The young woman unleashes a powerful magic spell, creating a shield of rocks to block the attack. She then gives him a determined smile and a simple thanks. Proving her capability, she immediately follows up with an offensive spell, launching a barrage of stone bullets at the stunned bandits. The protagonist watches with an impressed grin, realizing he has found a powerful and reliable ally. After the adrenaline of the fight, a new and unsettling reality sinks in. He looks at his hand, perhaps from a minor injury, and is shocked by the sensation. It hurts, he thinks, as he comes to understand that the consequences in this world are dangerously real. The protagonist is left reeling from the sensation of pain. His mind flashes to his real body lying in bed, connected to the game, as he insists to himself that no matter how realistic, a game is still a game. Feeling actual pain should be impossible. He stands before the now subdued bandits and the people he saved, but his mind is elsewhere. A look of deep unease crosses his face as he comes to a chilling conclusion. Something's wrong. His eyes scan the vast, hyper-realistic landscape around him. The impossible thought begins to take root as he connects the realistic pain to the flawless scenery, wondering, as if this is the real world. Just then, his spiraling thoughts are interrupted. The young woman he rescued approaches and says, "Well then," as she gently places her hand over his, likely beginning a healing spell and pulling his focus back to the present. The immediate conflict is officially over. The final scene shows the bandits all tied up and defeated, their threat completely neutralized thanks to the combined efforts of the protagonist and his new ally. After the battle, introductions are finally made. The protagonist reveals his name is Miyabi, and the young woman introduces herself as Liz. She comments on how intense the fight was, admitting it was her first real battle, and is completely shocked to learn Miyabi is just a civilian, not an adventurer. Liz quickly becomes flustered and apologizes for her surprise, explaining that she just didn't think he had the look of a typical fighter. The reason for her confusion is his gear. She points out his high-quality Wind Wolf armor, noting that because he looked so well-equipped, she naturally assumed he was a seasoned adventurer. Miyabi apologizes for the mix-up. As an apology for the trouble, Liz and her group offer to escort Miyabi to the town of Ambellum. He gratefully accepts, but asks for a little time to take care of something first, promising to be right back. A short while later, Miyabi has already gathered an impressive pile of wood and stones. With his materials ready, he is fully prepared to begin one of his signature construction projects. While Liz watches him, concerned about his strange behavior, Miyabi has an internal panic. He has confirmed that he cannot remove his headset. He is truly trapped in another world. He resolves to act cautiously to avoid making anyone suspicious. His mind flashes back to the admin's email that sent him to this special world. He then tries to open his inventory using the standard method from his old game. But when it fails, he realizes the operating system here must be fundamentally different. He walks off to test a new hypothesis. Perhaps the controls in this world are more intuitive and simpler. He decides to try a new method, just thinking the command inventory. The experiment works perfectly. By simply focusing his mind, a vast, warehouse-like space materializes before his mind's eye. He has successfully accessed his inventory, proving the system here is thought-based. He now understands how the new system functions. To Liz, the rocks and branches he collected simply appear floating in mid-air around him. To Miyabi, however, he is navigating a mental inventory, a stark contrast to the familiar pop-up window from Yumsekai. Having confirmed he can access his inventory, Miyabi moves on to the next logical test, crafting. With the materials he gathered, he focuses his mind to see if his primary skill works in this new world. A mental interface for crafting appears, much like his inventory did. He admits to himself that he never thought he'd be nervous about such a basic task, but the unknown rules of this world have him on edge. His fears are put to rest as the crafting process works flawlessly. A simple but sturdy wooden workbench materializes out of thin air in front of him, marking his first successful creation in this strange new place. Leaning on his new workbench, he reflects on how intuitive this new system is. He realizes he can get the recipe for anything just by thinking of it, which is in some ways even more convenient than the game he's used to. Now that he has a proper workstation, his ambition kicks in. To continue building and gathering resources efficiently, he knows what he needs next, a proper tool. Of course, the first thing on his list is a stone axe. Miyabi examines the recipe for stone axe, noting its usefulness as both a tool and a starting weapon. More importantly, he confirms he has all the necessary materials to craft it right away. With a focused mind, he combines the materials. In an instant, a brand new stone axe appears in his hand. He holds it up triumphantly, excited by his successful creation. He immediately puts the axe to work on a nearby tree, pleased with how much faster resource gathering will be now. With just a few swings, the logging is complete. He then discovers a pleasant surprise. His passive skills from the old game, like enhanced harvesting and automatic collection, have carried over. This makes the already easy task almost effortless. As he reflects on his success, a profound realization settles in. He smiles, understanding that he can truly live and thrive in this new reality using the items he crafts with his own two hands. His purpose is now clear. With his new abilities confirmed, the protagonist's purpose in this world becomes clear. He envisions a life where he can collect materials to create anything he desires, enjoying both high adventure and a peaceful, slow life at the same time. A core part of that dream is to live in a house he built himself. He imagines a warm, inviting home where he can raise a family in peace and comfort. The vision solidifies with an image of him relaxing and spending precious time with his family, pushing a child on a swing he crafted. A wave of excitement washes over him as he realizes this long-held dream can finally become his reality. Snapping back to the present, he returns to Liz, proudly holding up the crude stone axe he just created. Having been kept waiting, Liz is unimpressed, questioning his tardiness and the strange-looking tool. She then points out the huge, beaming smile on his face. Remembering he needs to act cautiously, he quickly tries to play it off, explaining with a serious face that he was just thinking about how the axe could be a scary weapon. Still processing his previous actions, Liz asks Miyabi how he suddenly produced a stone axe when he was empty-handed before. He casually explains that he just gathered some nearby materials and crafted it, which only deepens her confusion. One of the guards then remarks that he has an inventory skill, which explains how he could carry materials unseen. Liz confirms this is a special ability, noting that as a magician, she doesn't have access to such a skill. However, the other guards remain skeptical, questioning why a crafter with valuable skills would travel without hiring protection, implying crafters are typically neither wealthy nor combat capable. Liz quickly scolds them for being rude. The guards clarify that they meant no offense. Miyabi, ever the pragmatist, smooths the situation over. They all reach an understanding that while most crafters are normal, Miyabi is a clear exception to the rule. With the misunderstandings cleared, the group is finally ready to depart. Liz asks if he has all his things, and Miyabi, holding his newly crafted axe, confidently confirms he is ready for the journey ahead. With all misunderstandings cleared, the group finally sets off on their journey. With a shared goal and a sense of purpose, they head out from the forest towards the safety of the nearest city. The journey through the wilderness is eventful. The skilled guards make short work of monsters that cross their path while also navigating the terrain. Meanwhile, Liz spends time comforting the other rescued passengers, creating a sense of camaraderie. After some time on the road, Liz excitedly points towards the horizon as their destination finally comes into view, bringing a sense of relief and anticipation to everyone. As they draw closer, the full scale of the city is revealed. It is Angoulême, a massive walled city with a complex layout, promising security and the start of a new chapter for their adventure. Finally arriving at the entrance, Miyabi is awestruck. He has seen countless fantasy cities and games, but standing before the sheer size and presence of Angoulême's Great Stone Gate is a completely different and breathtaking experience. Upon arriving at the city gate, Miyabi is impressed by the large number of guards, a clear sign of a major city. As they approach, the local guards are alerted to their party and the captured bandits they have in tow. Suddenly, a squad of city guards surrounds them. With their sharp halberds pointed forward, the situation becomes tense, making it seem like Miyabi and his group are being accused of something. Miyabi immediately panics, flailing his arms and insisting they've done nothing wrong. Liz, however, remains perfectly composed, telling him to calm down and reassuring him that this is just a standard procedure. The situation clarifies when the squad captain steps forward. He formally thanks the group for capturing the bandits and asks to speak with their leader, revealing their purpose was official business, not an accusation. Immensely relieved, Miyabi happily steps back, deciding to let a professional handle the report. The leader of their own guard escort steps up, confidently identifying himself to the city's captain. As the city guard captain asks for the party's leader, Miyabi is stunned when the guard escort points to Liz. He can hardly believe that she is the one in charge. Liz calmly explains to the bewildered Miyabi that it's an unspoken rule among adventurers. The member with the highest rank automatically becomes the leader. She then reveals she is a C-rank adventurer, the highest in their group. Miyabi is genuinely impressed, remarking how amazing it is that Liz has earned the trust of seasoned adult adventurers. The guards agree, praising her as a very attentive and dependable scout for their journey. Overwhelmed by the sincere praise from everyone, the usually composed Liz can't help but blush, shyly unable to say more than a flustered, "Is that so?" With the leader identified and all formalities settled, the guard captain concludes the handover. He informs Liz that they will take the bandits into custody and that the reward for the 5 adventurers will be sent to the Adventurers Guild at a later date. Come at the gates of Angoulême, the merchant and guard escort they traveled with bid them a final farewell. They thank Miyabi and Liz for their help and wish them well before parting ways. Now that they are alone, Miyabi turns to Liz with a question that has just occurred to him. Seeing his serious expression, Liz asks him what's wrong. He asks about the ID required to enter the city. Liz, worried he lost his, is stunned when he clarifies that he never had one to begin with. She explains that without an ID, he'll have to pay an entry fee. The problem gets worse when Miyabi cheerfully gives a thumbs up and announces that he also has no money. He comically declares the situation a double miracle, much to Liz's absolute shock. Seeing no other choice, Miyabi makes a run for it, deciding his only option is to make a desperate appeal to the guard captain he just met. Liz immediately gives chase, shouting that the city can't just bend the rules for everyone who helps them. Seeing Miyabi's chaotic attempt to solve his entry problem, Liz sighs in exasperation. Though she clearly doesn't want to get involved, she reluctantly decides she has to step in and help. Thanks to Liz's intervention, a city guard issues Miyabi a 3-day temporary pass, allowing him into Angoulême. The guard advises him to apply for a permanent ID at the Adventurers Guild if he plans on staying longer. Finally inside the city, Miyabi sincerely thanks Liz for her help, especially for lending him the money for the entry fee. Liz sharply reminds him that it was a loan and that she fully expects him to pay her back. Miyabi seriously recalls the agreement they made. In exchange for her help, Liz gave him 2 conditions that he must follow, and he is determined to uphold his end of the bargain. The first condition is revealed. He must register at the Adventurers Guild. Secondly, they will form an official party of 2, which will allow the guild to track their location and prevent him from running off with her money. Miyabi considers this condition and has no problem with it. He reasons that since his passion for crafting requires him to gather materials in the wild anyway, registering as an adventurer aligns perfectly with his own goals. Liz lays out her second condition. Miyabi must help her with her adventure work for a while, primarily by carrying her things on quests. As they walk through the city, Miyabi is immediately captivated by the sight of a real blacksmith shop. He gets completely distracted by the various interesting stores and has to apologize to Liz for lagging behind. He quietly muses that while he isn't a fighter, he could probably manage in a support role. Their walk through the city eventually leads them to a specific building, which Miyabi correctly identifies as an inn, wondering why they've stopped there. He asks Liz why their first stop is an inn when he thought they were headed to the Adventurers Guild. She patiently explains a basic but crucial rule for all adventurers. Secure a place to sleep first, because good, affordable inns fill up fast. At the counter, a friendly innkeeper tells them a room costs 5 silver coins per night. Miyabi agrees, but the simple transaction immediately highlights another major problem for him. He has absolutely no knowledge of this world's currency. Now, in the safety of his own room, Miyabi takes a moment to understand the local economy. He mentally calculates the exchange rate from the change he received, equating 1 gold coin to 10 silver coins, and trying to relate it to the yen he knows from his world. The reality of his financial situation then hits him. He collapses onto the bed, lamenting that he had to borrow a significant sum of money for entry and living expenses from Liz, a girl younger than him. The blow to his pride as a self-sufficient crafter stings. Lying on the bed, his initial embarrassment transforms into a quiet determination. He resolves that he must work not only to pay back his debt, but to return the favor for all the help and kindness Liz has shown him. With the start of a new day, his resolve is put into action. He leaves the inn, ready to take the first concrete step toward establishing himself in this new world and fulfilling his promise to Liz. His destination is the city's impressive Adventurers Guild. He walks through its grand doors, ready to register as an adventurer and officially begin his new life in the city of Angelum. As Miyabi and Liz step into the grand hall of the Adventurers Guild, Miyabi takes a moment to absorb the lively atmosphere, filled with adventurers of all kinds. His eyes go wide with pure excitement. For someone who has only ever seen fantasy worlds and games, the sight of real-life elves and beastmen casually interacting is a dream come true. As they approach the reception counter, Liz notices his awe. To cover for his genuine amazement, he quickly claims he's just a simple country boy, impressed by the big city. Liz advises him to stay close while she reports in. At the counter, a beautiful guild receptionist named Eleanor greets Liz with a warm and familiar smile, welcoming her back and showing genuine concern for her well-being. While Liz makes her official report about the escort quest, Miyabi is completely mesmerized. He can barely process the conversation, captivated by how incredibly beautiful the receptionist is. After Liz makes her report, Eleanor, the guild receptionist, turns her attention to Miyabi. Seeing his chance, he smoothly introduces himself and states his official intention to register as an adventurer. Eleanor gives a professional smile and introduces herself in return. Overcome with excitement and trying to be polite, Miyabi responds with an overly formal 45-degree bow. Seeing his exaggerated and somewhat smitten behavior, Liz dryly comments that his nose is getting longer, a playful jab telling him to stop being so full of himself and come back down to earth. While Eleanor takes Liz's adventurer card to process her completed quest, Liz reflects on how differently Miyabi is acting now compared to their chaotic first meeting, where there was no time for calm greetings. Eleanor then hands Miyabi the application form for his registration. He looks at the document and is shocked to discover that, while the written language is completely alien to him, some function of this world allows him to read it fluently. While at the Adventurers Guild, Miyabi takes the opportunity to learn about its systems. He studies a chart detailing the 7 adventurer ranks, from F to S, and realizes his instant understanding of it must be another passive skill that transferred over with him. He then learns that the adventurer card he is applying for is more than just an ID. It also functions as a bank card, allowing him to securely deposit and withdraw money at the guild. A feature he notes is highly practical for someone on a quest. As he looks over the guild's terms and conditions, he is baffled by how basic the rules are. He questions why things like be civil and no fighting would even need to be written down in an official agreement. Liz, noticing his expression, is surprised he's actually reading the fine print. Miyabi, sweating a little, concludes that if such obvious rules need to be explicitly stated, then perhaps adventurers are not the most civilized people. When Liz expresses surprise that he's reading the guild's terms, Miyabi insists he has to. He has a painful flashback to his previous life as a corporate slave, remembering the hard-learned lesson that you must always read the fine print. Liz remarks that he is a rare case, stating that about 90% of people don't bother reading the terms at all, a fact that other nearby adventurers seem to confirm with their laughter. Miyabi tries to argue against the unbelievable statistic, but Eleanor, the guild receptionist, cheerfully confirms that Liz's assessment is spot on. Eleanor gives Miyabi a warm, grateful smile. She says the guild appreciates him taking the registration seriously and notes that, as an acquaintance of Liz, it makes sense that he is a diligent person. As he finally puts the quill to the paper to sign the contract, it all clicks for him. He understands now why the rules were so basic. However, just before he finishes signing, a new thought occurs to him, and he pauses. While filling out the registration form, Miyabi has a moment of carelessness. He automatically writes his name in Japanese katakana script before catching his mistake, shocked that he could do something that might expose him. As he panics internally over his blunder, Liz, unaware of his real problem, points to the occupation section. She advises him that he should simply write supporter for his role. Miyabi is confused by the title, so Liz explains. For long-term quests, adventurers often hire a supporter to handle logistics like equipment maintenance, lightening the main party's burden. She elaborates that a supporter handles background tasks like fetching water and cooking, and they are exempt from dangerous night guard duty. Miyabi realizes Liz wasn't concerned about his Japanese writing, but was just trying to help him define his role. He asks if the role is too easy, but Liz explains that supporters are crucial. They prevent party fatigue on long journeys, which can lead to mistakes and conflict. In essence, a supporter is an insurance policy for the mission's success. Having agreed to the terms, Miyabi accepts his new role as a supporter. A tired Liz, having submitted their party application, decides to leave him to finish the registration process on his own. Before she leaves, Liz offers a warm and encouraging smile. She tells him to keep up the good work, supporter-san, and heads off to finally get some rest after her long journey. Now alone with Eleanor, Miyabi completes the registration. The guild receptionist officially issues him his F-rank adventurer card, marking his first step into his new life. To put his new card away safely, Miyabi casually uses his thought-based inventory, making the card vanish into thin air. The impossible feat leaves Eleanor completely stunned and at a loss for words. As she processes what just happened, a single thought crystallizes in her mind. This incredibly rare and powerful ability leads her to wonder if Miyabi isn't just a simple crafter, but a legendary producer. Curious about Eleanor's reaction, Miyabi asks if it's unusual for a producer to register with the Adventurers Guild. Eleanor explains that there are different guilds for different professions, and most crafters like him would normally join the production guild. She elaborates that while some producers have tried to be adventurers, they often lack the stamina for combat and end up being shunned by their parties. Despite hearing this, Miyabi is undeterred, thinking to himself that he will succeed where others failed. Seeing his determination, Eleanor offers her support and reveals a crucial secret about his inventory. Time does not pass inside it. She explains the guild is trying to work more with production-focused members, and she is rooting for him. Eleanor explains the enormous financial advantage this gives him. Because his inventory preserves items perfectly, he can sell fresh demon meat and other perishable monster parts for a significantly higher price, up to 90% more for rare components. The opportunity clicks in Miyabi's mind. This ability is a perfect way to earn money quickly. He eagerly resolves to do his best to bring a wide variety of fresh materials to the guild, motivated by the desire to pay off his debt to Liz as soon as possible. Looking at the adventurer's guild emblem, Miyabi solidifies his reasoning for joining. He concludes that to pursue his passion for crafting, gathering materials is the most crucial step. By joining this guild, he can take on quests and collect materials simultaneously, effectively killing two birds with one stone. Now fully committed to his path, he immediately asks Eleanor if there's a safe place outside the city where he can begin collecting. She helpfully suggests that the east area is relatively safe for gathering, noting that there's no rule preventing him from collecting materials outside of official requests. Following the plan to gather materials, Miyabi heads out to the safe zone outside the city. He begins his first solo expedition in this new world, ready to put his skills to the test. After a successful gathering session, he returns to Angelum, but his confidence quickly fades. He finds himself completely lost, running in circles through the disorienting and repetitive city streets. He stops to get his bearings, looking out over the similar-looking rooftops in a desperate attempt to remember where Theron was, but he is unable to find any familiar landmarks. His frustration peaks as he realizes just how lost he is. For a modern person used to distinct cityscapes, navigating a medieval city where all the buildings look alike proves to be an impossible challenge. As the sun sets, he finally gives up for the moment, realizing he let his guard down by relying on Liz earlier. He can't remember the inn's name and starts to worry that Liz might be worried about him. Still hopelessly lost as night falls, Miyabi spots a lone figure walking down the street, a young girl with cat ears and a tail. He notices she's carrying a sword, concluding she must be an adventurer and likely knows the city well. Seeing no one else to ask, he musters his courage and decides to approach her for help. He nervously asks if she could show him the way to the inn. Without a moment of hesitation, the cat girl simply points in a direction and says, "That way." Miyabi is completely taken aback. He wonders how she could possibly know which inn he was staying at when he hadn't even told her its name. The cat girl notices his surprised expression and questions it. A wave of panic washes over him. The fact that this stranger seemed to know exactly where he was going without being told is highly suspicious, and he begins to fear that asking her for help was a huge mistake. Seeing that he's lost, Miyabi explains his situation to the cat girl. He tells her he's a new adventurer who has lost track of his inn and presents his adventurer card as proof of his identity. The cat girl looks at his card and then shows him her own, simply saying, "Same." Miyabi, misunderstanding, is overjoyed, thinking this means they are staying at the same inn by a happy coincidence. His joy quickly turns to shock as he gets a proper look at her adventurer card. He sees the B insignia on it, realizing that she is a high-ranking B-rank adventurer. The revelation hits him with full force. He is completely floored by the fact that this adorable, young-looking girl holds a rank that is even higher than his capable companion, Liz. He stares at the unassuming cat girl, his mind reeling as he tries to process this new information. He can't help but wonder if this girl truly possesses such incredible strength. The B-rank cat girl studies Miyabi's adventurer card, bluntly summarizing his current status. Miyabi, F-rank, a lost adventurer. Taking pity on him, she introduces herself as Mel and agrees to help. Miyabi thanks her, but winces internally. As true as it is, hearing his pathetic situation described so frankly hurts his pride. Mel asks for a hint to find the inn. Miyabi explains he only remembers it being near the east gate because he was distracted talking to another adventurer. Her demeanor sharpens as she pointedly asks if that adventurer was a girl. Miyabi confirms that yes, he was with a girl about his age. After processing this, Mel's expression clears, and she decisively declares that she knows the way and will take him there. True to her word, after a short walk, Mel points directly to the correct inn. Miyabi is left standing in shock, amazed that she could find the exact location with such vague information. Mel explains her simple deduction. She knew the only inn near the east gate that was safe enough for a low-rank adventurer with locks on the doors and a ban on alcohol, was the one he was looking for. Miyabi realizes Liz chose it specifically for his safety. Completely amazed by her sharp logic, Miyabi can only bow in admiration. Seeing his reaction, Mel smugly asks, "Am I right?" Confident in her deduction. Finally back at his inn, Miyabi sincerely thanks Mel for guiding him. As they part ways, she offers some parting encouragement. "Do your best, F rank." He quickly reminds her his name is Miyabi, realizing with a sigh that she has already forgotten it. Before Mel can leave, Miyabi stops her. As a token of his gratitude for her help, he says he wants to give her a gift and asks for a moment of her time. Intrigued, Mel agrees to wait and see what he has in mind. Miyabi accesses his inventory, thinking that while he'd love to repay her with money, he can't spare any right now. Instead, he decides to do what he does best: craft a personalized gift that he hopes will make her happy. He pulls a large log from his inventory, one of the many he gathered during his earlier expedition into the forest. This will be the raw material for his thank you present. He then activates a unique skill, material disassembly. The large log instantly breaks down into smaller, perfectly uniform wooden blocks, ready to be used for crafting. This skill is an extension of his unique inventory, allowing him to automatically and efficiently process raw materials into standard crafting components, a crucial ability for a master producer like himself. Taking one of the wooden blocks he prepared, Miyabi begins to truly handcraft his gift. He focuses, kneading his magic directly into the wood to shape it. The process of carving the material with his magic is one that relies on years of practice and an innate sense of form. It's a skill he has honed through countless hours of dedication. A look of pure joy and concentration is on his face. He thinks to himself that this is the kind of detailed, meticulous work he has loved doing for a very long time. With the main carving complete, he applies the final, delicate touches. He carefully smooths the surface of what is now a small wooden cat figurine. "It's done," he announces proudly. He presents the finished gift to Mel, a small, charming wooden cat that looks just like her, complete with a comically smug expression. Mel looks at the small wooden cat figurine with sparkling eyes and, after a moment, shyly accepts it. Miyabi is delighted, seeing that she was genuinely pleased with the present he crafted for her. As he watches her leave, he reflects on the profound difference between his old life and this new one. In the game, no matter how much effort he put in, his creations were just data. Here, they are real and can bring real joy. Later that night, he looks up at the moon, still thinking about the exchange. A warm feeling spreads through him as he acknowledges how nice it feels to have someone genuinely appreciate something he made with his own hands. His warm feelings vanish the next morning. He jolts awake in the stark, cold room of the inn, shivering and exclaiming how absolutely freezing it is. He quickly realizes the source of the problem. This world, unlike his own, doesn't have modern amenities. The room lacks a stove or any heater, and the single thin futon is no match for the morning chill. Leaving his freezing room, Miyabi bumps into an equally cold-looking Liz in the hallway. Seeing her shivering, he kindly suggests they go down for a hot breakfast to warm up. In the inn's common area, Miyabi finds him table. Living up to his new role as a supporter, he tells the still shivering Liz to sit and wait while he fetches their food. He returns shortly after with a tray of food, including bread and a steaming bowl of hot soup, which he carefully places in front of her. As they begin to eat, he accidentally touches her hand and recoils in shock. He exclaims how unbelievably freezing cold her hands are, much to her surprise. With a calm, almost smug expression, Liz explains that she simply has poor circulation. Hearing this, Miyabi's shock turns to sympathy, and he feels genuinely sorry for her predicament. Taking a comforting sip from her warm bowl, Liz sighs in relief. She comments that as cold as the inn is, it's still a luxury compared to a typical morning on an escort request. She explains that while on quests, there are often nights where her hands and feet get so cold she can't sleep, but here she can have a warm meal. Hearing this, Miyabi says he truly understands why a supporter is so valuable to adventurers. Trying to be helpful, Miyabi suggests that he could carry extra blankets for her on quests. He then playfully jokes that he could even rent them out to her for a silver coin a day, though that would probably make people mad at him. Liz gives him a chilling look, telling him he wouldn't be joking after experiencing the misery of a cold, rainy morning sleeping on the hard ground. She firmly decides it's best they avoid escort quests for the time being. Later, at the Adventurers Guild, they stand before the quest board. Now that escort requests are off the table, they look over the various other jobs, wondering which one to take for their first outing as a party. Inside the Adventurers Guild, Eleanor explains that the quest boards are organized by rank. She gestures for Miyabi and Liz to look at the board for C and D rank requests. However, Miyabi's attention is immediately drawn to another area where a full-blown, violent brawl has erupted among a group of rough-looking adventurers. Completely shocked by the chaos, he asks what's happening. Liz calmly explains that they are at the board for E and F rank quests, and that the adventurers are most likely fighting over the highest-paying job. The sad brawl ends as quickly as it began, with one man left knocked out on the floor while the winner snatches the quest paper. Miyabi can only watch, appalled by the pathetic scene. A horrifying realization dawns on him as he spots a request for simple ditch cleaning. He understands that if he were a solo F-rank adventurer, he would have to become one of these desperate brawlers, fighting for even the most menial of jobs. After witnessing the brutal reality of being a low-rank solo adventurer, Miyabi makes a firm resolution. With a look of desperate determination, he decides he must do whatever it takes to make sure Liz doesn't leave him. Now standing with Liz at the much calmer C and D rank quest board, he can't help but admire her competence as she looks for a job. She snaps him out of his thoughts by asking what kind of request he would like to take on. Together, they look over the various jobs posted on the board, considering their options for their first official quest as a party of two. Liz finds a request paper that has been crumpled and damaged, likely from the earlier brawl at the low-rank board. She looks at it with sadness, lamenting that a plea for help was treated so disrespectfully. Moved by sympathy for the person in need, she makes her decision. She pulls the damaged request from the board and, acknowledging that it will likely be a long and difficult job, accepts it as their first mission together. Miyabi asks what kind of request Liz has chosen. She reveals it's a quest to eliminate something called ground sheep, a name that Miyabi finds both strange and deceptively simple. They read the details on the request form. Eliminate 3 ground sheep in the western grassland for a large reward of 40 gold coins. The high reward suggests it's a difficult job that no one else has taken. Liz, however, is confident she can handle it. Miyabi points out another, seemingly more straightforward quest, but Liz is insistent. With a determined look, she says she prefers the ground sheep quest, leaving him to wonder about her motivation. As Liz registers the difficult quest with the guild receptionist, Eleanor, Miyabi observes her expression. He sees a clear look of admiration and respect on Liz's face as she speaks with the elegant staff member. It all clicks for Miyabi. He excitedly realizes that Liz must be a huge fan of Eleanor and chose this difficult quest specifically to impress her. Completely flustered at being found out, Liz yells at him not to say that out loud. As Liz begins to loudly and passionately justify her choice of quest in the middle of the guild hall, Miyabi panics. He frantically tries to shush her to prevent her from embarrassing them both in front of everyone. Ignoring him, Liz argues her point with a blush. She claims it's a perfectly normal wish to want to be sent off on a dangerous mission by a beautiful person, a sentiment that only makes Miyabi cringe. She then doubles down, revealing her true fantasy. She sees herself as a little sister being wished well and cared for by her ideal older sister, Eleanor. Miyabi recoils, thinking her reasoning is even worse than he imagined. The next morning, they're back at the guild counter to make it official. Eleanor greets them with a warm, professional smile, noting that they are finally beginning their party activities and formally accepting their chosen request. However, as Eleanor reads the quest details aloud, her cheerful demeanor fades. A look of genuine concern crosses her face as she confirms that their chosen mission is indeed the dangerous Eliminate Ground Sheep request. As she officially stamps their request form, Eleanor gives them a serious warning. She tells them to be especially careful of the ground sheep's powerful assault attack, and Miyabi realizes this quest will be very time-consuming. Eleanor then explains the grim history behind the quest's high reward. A party of adventurers who had just reached C-rank recently attempted the same request and failed, forcing the guild to increase the reward to attract more capable parties. Handing the form to Miyabi, she offers some kind advice for his first outing. Since this is his very first request, she tells him to do his best, but to be careful not to overdo it, showing her concern for the rookie. She gives them a final, gentle smile, wishing them the best of luck on their mission and sincerely telling them to please take care of themselves. After experiencing Eleanor's genuinely kind and beautiful send-off, Miyabi has a moment of realization. He looks over at a blushing Liz and finally understands what she meant earlier about how nice it is to be sent off on a quest by a beautiful person. Leaving the guild, Miyabi is filled with a newfound sense of inspiration. He reflects that when a beautiful person like Eleanor offers kind words and a smile, it motivates him deeply because, at the end of the day, he is a simple man. Liz, noticing his confident and slightly smitten expression, immediately teases him. With a deadpan look, she points out his hypocrisy, saying, "Now look who's talking," as he is now the one trying to act cool in front of Eleanor. While gathering supplies for their quest, Liz remarks that Miyabi has the mindset of an old man. Blushing, he retorts that it's because he actually is, revealing for the first time that his real-world self is a man in his 30s. Before setting out on their first quest together, Miyabi and Liz meticulously plan their strategy, using a map and small figurines to represent themselves and their targets, the formidable ground sheep. Their journey takes them out of the city and into the vast, rolling hills of the Western Plains, the territory where the dangerous monsters have been spotted making trouble. As they take a break by a stream after a long walk, Liz watches Miyabi from a distance, remarking with surprise that for a producer, he has an impressive amount of stamina. She voices her surprise directly to him, noting that they've been walking since they left the city, yet he shows no signs of fatigue. Miyabi confirms that he feels perfectly fine and isn't tired at all. He then explains the secret to his endurance. It's not his own physical prowess, but rather the powerful enchantments on his specialized gear, which provide a stamina boost and fatigue reduction, effects designed for crafters who need to work for long hours. Liz expresses genuine jealousy over Miyabi's enchanted gear. She explains that magician's equipment doesn't offer stamina boosts, so they have a much harder time with endurance and often have to push themselves past their limits on long journeys. Miyabi agrees that taking breaks is important, but Liz explains the pressure she feels. She admits she can't bring herself to ask for a break when she is the only one in a party who is tired, showing her sense of responsibility as an adventurer. She makes an analogy to illustrate the consequences of poor time management on a quest. She explains that since the city gates close at sunset, failing to return in time is like a salaryman missing the last train home, a comparison that strikes a chord with Miyabi. Miyabi vividly recalls his old life and the stress of often missing the last train. Compared to that exhausting routine, he is overcome with emotion, realizing that his new life of adventure is an absolute blessing. He gets lost in a blissful daydream about his new stress-free existence. No horrible bosses, no customer complaints, and a nice co-worker in Liz. His happy reverie is abruptly shattered by Liz shouting his name, try to snap him back to reality. While scouting the vast Western Plains, Liz suddenly spots their target. In a hushed voice, she alerts Miyabi that she has found the ground sheep. Miyabi looks in the direction she indicated and sees a perfectly normal and peaceful-looking deer grazing in the tall grass. He turns to Liz in confusion, pointing out that what she's looking at is obviously just a deer. Liz grabs him and clarifies that he's mistaken. The deer is just a decoy, and the real monster is further behind it. As if on cue, the entire herd of deer suddenly flees in a panic. The ground behind them tears apart as something massive and powerful charges towards them from beneath the earth. The true ground sheep finally reveals itself. It's a terrifying, monstrous ram-like beast that erupts from the ground, far larger and more ferocious than its deceptively simple name would suggest. Hiding in the tall grass, Miyabi and Liz get their first good look at the herd of ground sheep. Liz explains their fearsome reputation, noting they're also known as the demon that makes vanguards cry. She recounts the legends surrounding their power. Stories say one destroyed a castle gate with its horns, and even 10 soldiers working together couldn't defeat it. She warns that their real strength lies in their high intelligence. Liz continues her strategic breakdown, explaining that the sheep hunt in packs, using coordinated pincer movements. Most dangerously for her, they're known to prioritize targeting and eliminating magicians in the rear. Realizing a direct confrontation is foolish, they decide on a more cautious approach. They will retreat for now and attempt to isolate the monsters, picking them off one by one from a safe distance. As they retreat, they come across the wreckage of a destroyed cart. Seeing the evidence of the monster's power firsthand, Miyabi remarks that no one would stand a chance against a direct charge, reaffirming that the roads are blocked for a very good reason. At the sight of the wreckage, Miyabi asks if any civilians have been hurt by the monsters. Liz confirms that, fortunately, it seems only adventurers have been targeted so far, but the roadblock itself is a serious issue. She explains the stakes. A small village down the road depends on this route as their lifeline. Since the ground sheep appeared, the villagers have been struggling to get essential supplies. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Liz's expression becomes serious. She tells Miyabi that they absolutely must not fail and that, even as a supporter, he must stay sharp. He agrees, promising not to be a burden. As they continue to plan their approach, Miyabi asks for more details on the monster's abilities, wondering if it has any ranged attacks. Liz confirms that its powerful charge is the only major threat they need to worry about. Miyabi is taken aback by this information. After hearing about the monster's immense power, he is surprised that it only has one attack pattern. "That's it?" he asks, his casual reaction leaving Liz momentarily confused. Liz passionately warns Miyabi not to underestimate the ground sheep, just because it only has one attack. She explains that they are relentless and will not stop charging unless fatally wounded, making them a B-rank level threat in terms of pure danger. After processing her words, a confident smirk appears on Miyabi's face. He turns to her and asks, "What do you mean?" hinting that he has found a crucial flaw in the monster strategy. He reveals his deduction. If the creatures are physically incapable of stopping their own charge, then that single-minded momentum is their greatest weakness. This means they are highly vulnerable to surprise attacks and traps. Without wasting a moment, Miyabi puts his theory into action. While a confused Liz watches, he uses his unique ability to instantly craft a sturdy stone shovel from raw materials. Holding his newly created tool, he cheerfully announces his plan. He's going to dig a hole. He points to a spot on the ground, ready to create a pitfall trap, leaving Liz looking on in complete bewilderment. Liz expresses her doubts about Miyabi's simple plan to dig a pitfall. She argues that demons aren't stupid enough to fall for such a simple trap, and besides, they don't have enough time to dig a hole large enough to be effective. Miyabi immediately proves her wrong. Using a powerful skill, he instantly excavates a massive, perfectly rectangular hole in the ground. He points out that her logic doesn't account for the unique abilities a producer like him brings to the party. Standing at the bottom of the enormous pit he created in seconds, he proudly declares his confidence in his pitfall-making skills, leaving Liz sitting on the grass in stunned silence. Still in disbelief at the speed and precision of his work, Liz asks him if he was a mole in his previous life. Miyabi comically thinks to himself that his previous life was more like that of a corporate dog than a mole. With the pit complete, he moves on to the final stage of the trap. He quickly crafts several large sheets of plywood and begins to carefully place them over the hole to conceal it from their targets. To finish the trap, Miyabi first covers the plywood with a layer of earth. He then carefully scatters meadow grass over the top to begin the camouflage. He explains that simply leaving the scattered grass would look unnatural. To perfect the illusion, he uses his magic to blend the covering with the surrounding terrain, making the trap virtually invisible. With the final magical touches applied, the trap is now perfectly concealed, looking like just another patch of undisturbed meadow grass swaying in the breeze. Standing at a safe distance, they admire their handiwork. In less than 10 minutes, their safe, secure, and reliable pitfall trap is complete, much to Liz's smug satisfaction. Liz cautiously inspects the finished trap up close. She notes that while it's perfectly hidden from a distance, a careful look reveals that the grass where magic was used grows just a little bit differently from the rest of the plains. After Liz points out the subtle flaw in the trap's camouflage, Miyabi can't help but tease her. He smugly thanks her for the perfect punchline, noting how obvious the trap is once you know where to look, which leaves Liz completely flustered. Now in position and waiting for their target, Miyabi lays out the next phase of the plan. He explains that since the ground sheep are so ferocious, he needs Liz to act as bait and taunt them with a bit of magic. Liz is understandably terrified by the prospect of making herself the target of such a dangerous monster. Despite thinking that using herself as bait is an absurdly dangerous idea, she looks at Miyabi's confident plan. Believing in his strategy gives her the courage she needs, and she reluctantly agrees to trust him. Stealing her nerves, Liz steps out into the open. She takes her stance and fires a stone bullet into the distance, a magical flare designed to catch the attention of the ferocious ground sheep and begin the battle. Liz's magical projectile successfully gets the attention of the ground sheep. As the adventurers watch tensely, the monsters zero in on their location. With the creatures now locked onto them, Liz's carefully constructed bravery shatters in an instant. She begins to cry out in terror, admitting that facing the monster is far scarier than she imagined. With its target acquired, one of the monstrous ground sheep begins its fearsome and unstoppable charge, tearing across the plains directly towards them at an incredible speed. Liz descends into a full-blown panic as the monster rapidly closes the distance. She desperately tries to reassure herself by remembering their pitfall trap, but her fear is overwhelming. Her panic reaches its peak as she realizes she is trapped between the charging beast and their own pitfall. Convinced she cannot escape, she begins to pray for help, screaming that she's going to die and apologizing for getting Miyabi involved. As the monster barrels towards them, Liz's fear reaches its peak. She lets out a terrified scream, her panic so intense that the charging beast momentarily appears to her as a horrifying, grinning horse. Just as it's about to reach them, the charging ground sheep crashes headfirst through the concealed plywood, its unstoppable momentum carrying it directly into Miyabi's trap. As the massive beast tumbles violently into the deep pit, Miyabi grabs the terrified Liz and pulls her to safety at the last second, narrowly avoiding the chaos. The plan worked. Liz is stunned that the monster fell for the simple trap without noticing it at all, while Miyabi celebrates their success. Their relief is short-lived, however, as another ground sheep appears in the distance. The second monster, alerted by the commotion, begins its own charge. Liz panics once again, shouting that if this one discovers the pitfall, their one and only trap will be completely useless. Just like the first, the remaining two ground sheep charge blindly forward and fall directly into the massive pitfall trap. Liz is left in a state of shock, completely unable to believe that all three monsters were defeated so easily. Looking down into the impossibly deep pit, Miyabi explains the simple but brutal logic of his trap. While the structure is basic, the sheer height of the fall is enough to inflict massive damage on any creature. At the bottom of the pit, the three formidable monsters are left dazed, confused, and severely injured. A fall from that height is more than enough to render even the ferocious ground sheep unable to continue the fight. Liz is completely overwhelmed by this display of power. She muses that defeating even one of these beasts is an incredible challenge. Yet Miyabi's exceptional skill neutralized all three in minutes. Awestruck, she turns to him and asks, "Miyabi, what in the hell are you?" In response to her deep, existential question, Miyabi simply flashes a cheerful peace sign. He completely misses the point, happily exclaiming that he's just glad they won without any injuries, much to Liz's frustration. After their victory, Miyabi playfully teases a flustered Liz, pretending he's going to confess his love. She eventually agrees to listen, and he clarifies he just wants to talk about the pitfall. Annoyed but focused, Liz says she will finish off the trapped monsters first. Standing at the edge of the pit, Liz begins to cast her spell. Miyabi watches in awe as the small ice spear she summons grows rapidly in size and power, far exceeding a normal spell. Concerned by the overkill, Miyabi suggests a weaker spell would suffice. Liz explains that ground sheep are incredibly tough, and she needs to kill them in a single, powerful shot to avoid damaging the valuable materials they will drop. With her spell fully charged, Liz unleashes a massive ice javelin. The enormous spear of ice crashes down into the pit, striking one of the incapacitated monsters with devastating force. After repeating the powerful spell to finish off all three beasts, an exhausted Liz pants, leaning on her staff for support. With a sigh of relief, she declares that the difficult job is finally over. In the aftermath of their easy victory, Liz's mind is racing. She struggles to comprehend how Miyabi's crafting ability could be so overwhelmingly powerful, noting that his skill level seems far beyond that of a normal crafter. With a strained smile, she asks if he somehow managed to put the enormous carcasses of the ground sheep into his inventory. Miyabi cheerfully confirms, stating that carrying the party's loot is a supporter's job, giving himself a perfect score. Liz presses him further, asking what kind of unbelievable inventory he possesses that can hold three giant monsters in addition to all the dirt from the pitfall. Miyabi, still not understanding her confusion, simply states that it's just a normal inventory. Completely exasperated by his obliviousness, Liz explains that while she also has an inventory skill, its capacity is obviously far smaller than his. Giving up, she just tells him to collect the monsters so they can finally take a break. After the materials are all safely stored away in Miyabi's seemingly infinite inventory, Liz finally gets her well-deserved rest. She is seen happily enjoying a meal, recovering from the day's excitement and confusion. During their break, Miyabi pulls fresh, warm bread from his inventory, much to Liz's delight. Happy to have a warm meal outdoors, she once again asks him just how much stuff he can possibly fit in his seemingly bottomless inventory. Miyabi struggles to give a concrete answer. He explains that he doesn't know the exact number, but a mental check shows he has only used about 1% of his total capacity. Liz is completely baffled by this abstract measurement. To clarify, he tries to explain the concept of skill levels. He tells her that skills like his inventory naturally expand and grow in capacity the more he uses them for crafting and gathering, a concept that is completely new to Liz. He reflects on his time in the game Yumasikai, where it was completely normal for a dedicated crafter to eventually unlock a massive, warehouse-sized storage skill through constant use. Realizing that this common game mechanic might be unheard of in this world, he asks if things work differently here. A flustered Liz admits that his unbelievable abilities are completely shattering her preconceived notions of what a crafter is supposed to be. Liz explains the harsh reality for crafters in this world. Unlike valued blacksmiths, they are limited to simple, low-paying work like repairing furniture and walls, making it one of the less fortunate production jobs. She continues, asking Miyabi how he could possibly gather materials on his own. She points out that normally, a crafter would never be able to afford to hire the necessary escorts to protect them in the wild. Liz elaborates on the dangers and costs. Without combat skills, a crafter is easy prey for monsters like wolves and goblins. Furthermore, the storage space required to hold materials isn't free, adding another financial burden that makes progress nearly impossible. Hearing all of this, Miyabi has a profound realization. He understands that the worlds they come from is a game of systems and progress, and hers, a world of harsh realities, are fundamentally different. He reflects on this difference. In his game, gathering materials was as simple as avoiding monsters. Here, crafters are trapped in a cycle of poverty, unable to gather, unable to raise their skill levels, and stuck with menial repair jobs forever. After learning about the harsh reality for crafters in this world, Miyabi feels a wave of sympathy for them. However, he clenches his fist, acknowledging that their systemic problems are not something he can solve on his own. He concludes that making a living is hard, no matter the profession. Liz agrees, noting that adventuring has a high mortality rate and few rewards, but she is determined to persevere through the hardships. Deciding to change the somber subject, Miyabi turns to Liz and says he has a favor to ask regarding the ground sheep they defeated. He explains that, despite his debt, he would really like to have the wool from the monsters. Liz is happy to oblige, explaining that the guild normally just throws the wool away, so he is free to take it. Liz is overjoyed, realizing that thanks to Miyabi's massive inventory, she'll be able to take home the entire carcass, something she never thought possible. Miyabi suggests they should process the materials right away. As they process the materials from the ground sheep, the sheer value of their haul becomes clear. The horns can be used for medicine, the claws and bones for weapons and armor, and the meat is edible, meaning almost every part of the monster is profitable. Liz is giddy with the thought of the record-breaking profit they are about to make. She starts daydreaming about being able to afford an inn with a luxurious hot spring, a huge step up from the bucket of hot water Miyabi used the previous night. Still dreaming of future comforts like readily available hot water, Liz turns to Miyabi with a determined blush. She declares that, for the time being, she has no intention of letting him break up their party. She passionately insists that their partnership will continue even after he has paid back his debt. Miyabi easily reads her motivation. She wants to keep hunting profitable monsters to upgrade her lifestyle, and find her lack of subtlety amusing. Liz gives her final reason for continuing their partnership. She never wants to go back to doing menial, low-paying quests like ditch cleaning. Miyabi happily agrees, and they shake hands, officially looking forward to their future adventures together. After agreeing to continue their partnership, Liz apologizes for her impulsive declaration. Miyabi kindly reassures her that he feels the same way and is happy to keep working with her. They return to the Adventurers Guild much sooner than anyone expected. A surprised Eleanor asks if they've already finished the difficult quest. Liz tries to explain their success as mere luck, but Miyabi whispers that she should just be honest about his pitfall trap. With a knowing and elegant smile, Eleanor says that luck is a form of strength in itself, and she is glad they are doing well. She then formally asks them to submit the monster materials to verify the quest's completion. A flustered Liz says they still need to dismantle the carcasses and asks to use the guild's facilities. However, Miyabi interrupts, confidently stating that he has already finished all the dismantling and will present the materials now, much to Liz's complete surprise. True to his word, Miyabi uses his inventory to produce a massive, perfectly processed pile of monster parts right on the counter. He presents 3 full sets of horns and claws and the meat of 2 beasts, leaving Eleanor utterly speechless at the impossible feat. The pile of monster parts Miyabi summoned is so immense that it overflows from the reception counter. He sheepishly apologizes and asks if he should move it somewhere else, as other adventurers in the guild stare in silent shock. The silence is broken as the other adventurers begin to react. One of them points in disbelief, shouting that it's impossible for that much meat to appear on the counter all at once. The shock and awe spread through the guild hall. Another adventurer shouts, "What the hell is that?" refusing to believe what he is seeing is real. Amid the growing chaos, Eleanor remains perfectly calm and professional. She reassures Miyabi that everything is fine and instructs her staff to bring all the materials in for a proper assessment. However, even the guild staff is unprepared for such a massive haul. A staff member is heard shouting for reinforcements, saying they need a dozen more people from the warehouse to help process all the fresh ground sheep meat. The news of the massive, fresh haul of ground sheep meat spreads like wildfire, causing a frenzy in the city. Children are amazed, and people begin clamoring to buy the rare delicacy. Witnessing the chaos, Miyabi turns to Liz and asks if the meat is really that popular, earning looks of surprise from the surrounding adventurers who can't believe he doesn't know. The reason for its popularity is simple. Ground sheep is known as a healthy meat with a light, natural flavor, making it a favorite that even women and children can enjoy. Liz explains that the true value of their haul comes from its freshness. Because Miyabi's inventory preserved it perfectly, the guild can freeze it, and it's considered such a high-quality delicacy that it even has enthusiasts who enjoy it raw. After they finally get away from the crowd, Liz pulls Miyabi aside. With a serious and slightly nervous expression, she tells him they need to talk about the valuable meat he now possesses. In their private conversation, Liz reveals her request. She wants to keep one portion of the valuable meat for themselves to eat. Miyabi smiles, realizing that Liz is also a fan of the rare delicacy. After the guild staff finishes their work, Eleanor returns to the counter. She politely thanks the two adventurers for their patience while the guild took the time to properly evaluate all of the materials they brought in. Eleanor then lays out their massive payment. 45 gold for completing the quest, 70 gold for the horns and claws, and an incredible 85 gold for the perfectly preserved meat. The grand total comes to an astronomical 200 gold coins, an amount of wealth neither of them expected. The sheer volume of money is so overwhelming that Liz weakly tells Miyabi she'd be happy with just a tiny fraction of the earnings. Miyabi insists on what he sees as a fair split. 70% for Liz as the main fighter and 30% for himself as the supporter. He argues that taking the larger share, while already being in debt to her, would make him done as a person. The argument over how to split their massive reward continues. Liz insists that Miyabi should take the larger share, arguing that he is the one who did the most work to defeat the monsters. Miyabi dismisses her praise, stating that it doesn't matter how much work he did. He reminds her that his official role is just a support guy, and his job is to assist her, the main adventurer. Back at the counter, Eleanor sides with Liz, insisting he shouldn't hold back because his mole contribution with the pitfall was extraordinary. Miyabi protests that accepting would be like admitting he's a mole. Hearing the repeated references to moles, a confused Eleanor asks what they are talking about. In perfect unison, a flustered Miyabi and Liz shout, "It's nothing," to quickly end the awkward conversation. Miyabi proposes a final compromise. He will take enough to pay off his debt to her, and she should take the rest of the profits since her role as a fighter carries a much higher risk of injury. With this, their first quest's earnings are finally settled. As they walk through the bustling city, now flush with cash, they continue to debate how to split the reward. Liz suggests a 60/40th split in her favor. Miyabi, still feeling that's unfair to her, counters by suggesting a perfect 50-50 split so they can be equals. Liz playfully teases him, saying he sounds like he's haggling for groceries. Liz firmly puts her foot down, rejecting his self-deprecating offer. Miyabi, slightly intimidated, weakly protests that he doesn't deserve such a large share for just being a supporter. Seeing his continued reluctance, Liz's expression softens into a beautiful, gentle smile. She kindly but firmly reassures him. "I said it's okay, so it's okay," putting a final end to the argument. With their finances settled and their partnership solidified, a joyous Liz leads a still flustered but happy Miyabi through the city, ready for their next adventure together. Flush with cash from their successful quest, Miyabi and Liz immediately decide to upgrade their accommodations to a luxurious hot spring inn. However, Miyabi quickly realizes he miscalculated the cost, which is significantly higher than he anticipated. At the counter of the beautiful hot spring in Furadii, the friendly receptionist confirms the steep price, a full 2 gold coins per night. Liz, completely unfazed by the cost, is ecstatic about the hot spring and eagerly tells Miyabi it's time for a bath. A crying Miyabi can only agree, internally justifying the massive expense as a necessary reward for their hard work. After a long, relaxing soak, Miyabi is in a state of pure bliss. He happily carries his bath supplies, completely won over by the simple luxury of the hot spring. Now completely refreshed and re-energized from the experience, Miyabi is ready for his next move. He enthusiastically announces that he's going shopping, likely for new crafting materials and plans. While Liz enjoys the luxurious hot spring, Miyabi tells her not to worry about him and to just focus on warming up. Liz, slightly embarrassed by his youthful energy, simply remarks, "That's youth." Refreshed and happy, Liz heads off after their bath, still humming about the hot spring. Miyabi, however, doesn't follow. Instead, he is seen running with a new and urgent sense of purpose. As he dashes through the city streets, his mind is racing. He knows that a highly profitable quest like the one they just completed is a rare opportunity. He decides he must use this chance to put his new life in order as quickly as possible. With a look of intense determination, he defines his primary goal. To put his life in order, he must first secure his standard of living. In other words, he needs a stable and reliable food supply. He reasons that there will be times when they can't take quests, and food will be critical on long journeys. He decides they must use the money they have now to prepare for the future, dreaming of delicious meals like jingisukan made with their own supplies. After their shopping spree, Miyabi and Liz are back in their luxurious inn-room. Miyabi, now with a full stock of ingredients, immediately gets to work preparing a proper meal for them. Liz takes her first bite of the freshly cooked ground sheep meat. Her eyes go wide with delight as she savors the delicious, perfectly seasoned flavor. She is completely overwhelmed by the taste, a massive improvement over standard adventure rations. Miyabi proudly asks how it is, and she can only respond that it's delicious, her eyes sparkling with joy. Miyabi is happy that he was able to use his real-world cooking knowledge, specifically the recipe for jingisukan, to bring her such joy. He confidently states that with his skills, he'll make sure they eat well from now on. After the delicious meal, Liz thinks back on the day's events. She realizes that Miyabi not only has incredible crafting abilities, but is also a fantastic cook, concluding that he is far more amazing than she initially thought. After his massive shopping spree, Miyabi takes a moment to check his finances. He tearfully notes that he's already spent a huge chunk of their earnings, but tries to console himself by thinking of it as a necessary investment for their future. With his supplies secured, he realizes there is one more thing he needs. He wanders through the city streets, looking for a specific type of shop that he thinks should be nearby. He soon finds what he was searching for, a fully stocked blacksmith shop. As a fellow crafter, he looks around in awe at the array of professionally forged weapons and armor. He picks up a finely crafted knife and admires its quality. He is deeply impressed by the work of a real professional, realizing his own crude stone axe is nothing in comparison. The shop's blacksmith, a large and experienced-looking man, notices Miyabi's discerning eye. Recognizing a fellow craftsman, he approaches and asks him a direct question. "Are you a producer?" The blacksmith explains how he knew Miyabi was a producer, stating that only true craftsmen look at blades with such a keen eye for weight and balance. Caught staring intently, Miyabi gets flustered and apologizes for intruding. The blacksmith kindly dismisses his apology, saying it's perfectly normal for a craftsman to admire the work of another. The blacksmith then asks for his name. Miyabi introduces himself and explains his unusual dual role as both a crafter and a supporter, which means he's also a registered adventurer. Miyabi explains his official reason for visiting the shop. He was looking to purchase a knife for self-defense. However, he admits that there is one other thing he needs as well. He then reveals his true and more unusual request. He looks at the blacksmith and asks if he would be willing to sell him some raw iron ore. The blacksmith, who introduces himself as Weiss, is surprised but intrigued. He says he didn't know crafters were making weapons these days, but he likes the idea. His interest piqued, Weiss asks Miyabi to show him a weapon that he has personally crafted. This question catches Miyabi completely off guard. Miyabi panics internally, realizing the blacksmith has completely misunderstood his intentions. He doesn't want to forge a weapon. He desperately needs the iron or to craft a stove so he can cook the delicious jingisukan he's been dreaming of. Under pressure and having nothing else to show, Miyabi reluctantly presents his simple stone axe. He tries to downplay it, admitting that it's barely even a weapon. Instead of scoffing, Weiss examines the crude axe with genuine interest. Finding the idea of a crafter making his own tools fascinating, he tells Miyabi to follow him deeper into the workshop. Intrigued by the young crafter, the blacksmith Weiss leads Miyabi deeper into his workshop, towards the area where he stores his raw materials. Weiss reveals his stockpile, and Miyabi is left completely speechless. He stares in awe at numerous large crates, all filled to the brim with raw iron ore. He admits that he has never seen so much iron ore in one place before, not even during his time playing the game. Weiss, seeing his reaction, asks if he's surprised. The blacksmith then generously offers Miyabi a full crate of the raw ore, saying that it should be more than enough for whatever he is planning to make. Weiss explains that it's normal for him to share this much with his own apprentices. Overwhelmed by the unexpected generosity, a blushing Miyabi thanks him profusely for his kindness. Miyabi asks how much he owes for the crate of iron ore. The blacksmith, Weiss, lets out a hearty laugh, saying he would never expect payment from someone who makes tools out of stone, as he must not have any money. Although he wants to save money, Miyabi insists on paying what he can. Weiss, however, kindly refuses payment, telling the young crafter to just take the ore and not push himself too hard as he's just getting started. Weiss then makes one request in return. He asks Miyabi to use the iron or to forge a weapon and show him the result. Miyabi, who secretly wants the ore for a cooking stove, can't bring himself to correct the kind blacksmith after his generosity. Now feeling the pressure to live up to the master blacksmith's expectations, Miyabi looks at the expertly crafted swords in the shop. He resolves to take his time and create a weapon that he won't be embarrassed to show Weiss. Later, Weiss is seen examining the crude stone axe Miyabi had shown him earlier. He seems genuinely impressed, remarking that he can't believe someone would actually go to the trouble of cutting down a tree with such a primitive tool. As Miyabi leaves the workshop, the blacksmith Weiss tells him with a smile that seeing the weapon he forges will be something to look forward to in his old age, putting even more pressure on the young crafter. Miyabi steps out into the city streets, and almost immediately, a sense of déjà vu washes over him. He is completely lost once again, unable to remember which way he came from. Cursing his terrible sense of direction, he's relieved that he at least has a map and remembers the inn's name this time. Just as he despairs, he spots a familiar sight, the B-rank adventurer Mel. He is so relieved to see her that he is moved to tears. After he asks for her help, Mel points him towards his old, cheap inn. Miyabi has to sheepishly stop her and explain that he has since changed his lodging. He tells her the name of his new inn is the Furadii. Mel is taken aback by this, clearly surprised and questioning why a low-rank adventurer like him is staying at the same high-class establishment as a B-rank like herself. Seeing that the lost F-rank is staying at her inn, Mel agrees to help. She tells Miyabi that she was on her way back anyway, and will take him there. True to her word, she effortlessly guides him through the confusing city streets and back to the entrance of the luxurious Furadii Inn. Miyabi is overcome with relief, overjoyed to have finally made it back safely. As they are about to part ways in the lobby, Miyabi thanks her profusely for her help once again, shaking her hand with energetic gratitude. After the handshake, however, Miyabi realizes that Mel hasn't let go of his hand. Confused by her lingering grip, he tentatively asks what's wrong. Mel says nothing, but continues to grip his hands tightly while staring at them with an intense, unreadable expression. Her silent, focused stare makes Miyabi extremely nervous. Now that he's safely back at the inn, Miyabi tells Mel he must give her a reward as thanks for her help. Mel, looking smug, seems to have been expecting this all along. Using the large roll of cloth he bought earlier, Miyabi decides to make something special for her. He unrolls the fabric and uses his magic to precisely cut it into the shapes he needs. He thinks to himself that while normal hand sewing would be a hassle, He has his unique craft skill to make the process effortless. He begins the next step of his process, taking a single thread and pouring his magic into it, preparing it for his special technique. He then demonstrates his magical sewing method. By creating a magic path along the seams, the enchanted thread stitches the pieces together automatically and perfectly. In front of an audience of intrigued onlookers, Miyabi demonstrates his unique crafting skill. A magical thread follows the path he traces with his hand, perfectly stitching the pieces of fabric together. The result of his magical sewing is a simple, unstuffed cat doll. Even in this state, the quality is impressive, and the onlookers comment on how good the craftsmanship feels. Mel, seeing the empty doll, asks if the gift is done. Miyabi smiles and tells her there is just one more step to complete his creation. He explains his secret technique, a trick that only crafters can perform. He will use the valuable ground sheep's wool as stuffing and then use his magic to cloak the surface. With a final burst of magic, the small doll instantly grows and puffs up into a large, fluffy, and incredibly realistic stuffed cat, leaving Mel and the other guests completely amazed. The crowd in the inn's lobby erupts in applause as Miyabi presents his finished creation. Mel is in awe, her eyes wide with wonder at the beautiful, lifelike stuffed cat he made just for her. After the show is over, Miyabi formally kneels and presents the stuffed animal to Mel, thanking her one last time for guiding him back to the inn. Mel gratefully accepts the gift, hugging the soft cat close. With a gentle smile, she sincerely thanks him, calling him by his proper name, Miyabi. Miyabi is completely shocked that she finally remembered his name. A blushing Mel clarifies that she had forgotten it, but just remembered now, implying his thoughtful gift did the trick. He returns to his room to find Liz waiting for him, wearing a beautiful new outfit he presumably also crafted. Seeing that she liked her gift as well, he smiles, hoping that this new creation will finally help Mel remember his name for good. Upon returning to the inn, Miyabi finds a refreshed Liz who has just returned from her third trip to the hot spring. She teases him, asking if he's been in the bath the whole time she was gone, and encourages him to go and warm up as well. Liz gently scolds him, noting that he looks very cold. She tells him that taking proper care of himself is an important part of being an adventurer. As she says this, Miyabi is suddenly struck by how mature and charming she looks. His attraction to her immediately triggers a wave of guilt. He internally scolds himself for having wicked thoughts about a girl so much younger than his real-world self. Flustered, he stammers his agreement and rushes off to the hot spring. However, instead of relaxing in the hot spring, Miyabi is found sitting in the cold water bath, clearly trying to cool his head. Another bather warns him that he's going to catch a cold if he stays in there.